You had to become a workhorse if you wanted worthwhile returns. I was in awe of my paymasters, and at the same time, I was uneasy. I recall having a batch of potential Booker Prize winners fall out of a bag. 4 or 5 of them, and a scant 200 words for each. I was offering opinions with no visible means of support, and with little scope for nuance. It's simple, if you've only a paragraph to spare, to swat a book like a fly. Even if you have more space, it's easier to write a bad review than a good one, or to locate the flaw in a book and become fixated on it. Young reviewers become fired with zeal against the established and the overrated. They think they're doing justice, but it takes them longer to learn about mercy. When I began to write for the London Review of Books, everything changed. I began my career during Karl Miller's editorship and continued with Mary K. Wilmer's. My pieces became more expansive. The work became more challenging, and my unease dissipated, though only gradually. I still said yes to everything. Mary Kay speaks so softly that when she first called me, I believed she was trapped inside a sofa. It's possible that I didn't always know what I'd agreed to review, but I learned that the paper is skilled at matching contributors to a task. I almost never got a bad book, and if I did, I could send it back. At first I had qualms about my ability to rise to the standard. What I wrote was so plain that it felt exposed. I didn't have an arts degree, had never learned about literary criticism. In the theory wars, I was a non-combatant. But the paper had experts on tap, if they cared to call on them. If they wanted someone to stand in for the general reader, I was as general as they come. I didn't often review fiction, so I wasn't in danger of projecting my own perplexities onto someone else's work. And I welcomed the fact that all editorial changes were by negotiation. There was no danger of a sub-editor slicing off your last paragraph and changing the whole meaning of the piece. There were no particular space constraints. When I asked, "How many words?" the editors would say, "Take what you need." That answer is a clever one, and more demanding than it appears. To fix a book in context needs background reading. When the paper unearthed my old letters, I'd no idea they kept such things. I saw that I was always asking for time, more time to learn, and it was always granted. Sometimes I was slow because I was overcommitted, but sometimes because I was fascinated. The editors forgave my occasional bouts of critic's block. They're forbearing with all their writers. Sometimes it must seem unclear whether a piece is in progress or regress, or whether it will ever arrive at all. I'm indebted to them for patience, and to Mary Kay for encouraging me out of my shell. I trained myself out of digression, but the paper was at ease with it. I was wary of jokes, but they didn't mind those either. And when I wanted to say something more personal, they were listening. The pieces here were written over a long period and fall into different categories. There are those where, as I've said, I stand in for the general reader. There are pieces on the early Tudors and on the French Revolution.